I used to think that solving my partner's problems was the ultimate act of love. I thought I was being a hero, a coach, the provider of answers, and that it was helpful. But the truth is, I was killing our polarity and suffocating our intimacy. I was actually trying to fix her so that I didn't have to deal with my own anxiety and insecurities. If you, my friend, have ever felt like you're more of a parent and a coach instead of a lover, this episode's going to be your intervention. In a moment, you're going to join Courtney and me in a raw conversation where we go into the fixer dynamic. We're going to be pulling back the curtain on why your attempts to help your partner might actually be pushing them farther and farther away. If you want to stop the resentment and to start feeling like an actual team again, this one's going to be for you. We're going to be going over the sticky note theory, which is a concept we teach at a retreat so that you can help to see the human behind all of your judgments. We're going into the go first principle, which is why waiting for your partner to change is a losing strategy, and how to reclaim your seat in the relationship today. And this one is one of my favorites. It's the no coaching rule. It's the exact boundary Courtney and I use in our own marriage to keep our connection sacred and out of the therapist chair. Before we dive into this conversation with Courtney and me, please do me a huge favor. We are on a mission to reach 100,000 followers by the end of this year so that we can spread this message of the sacred we. If you get value from this, my friend, please hit subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review on Spotify. It genuinely helps this message reach more couples. Before we dive into this conversation with Courtney and me, please do me a favor. We're on a mission to hit 100,000 followers by the end of this year so that we can spread this message of the sacred we. So if you get value from this, my friend, please hit subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a review on Spotify. It genuinely helps this message spread to other couples. All right, let's get into this conversation. Fixing thinks it's being helpful, but the truth is it's actually sinking the relational ship.
In my first relationship, my first marriage that lasted 10 years, I spent about 5 to 6, maybe 5 of those years as a big time fixer. I was trying to figure out what was wrong with him and trying to help him understand what was going on for him, because my heart was in so much pain. I wanted to connect more. I felt lonely. We were living in an apartment in the city. I'd never lived in an apartment before. I was from the country. And he was on the computer a lot. He was in his own world a lot. And I didn't know how to invite him in. I didn't know how to invite connection in. I only knew that I didn't like spending so much time alone, watching movies on the couch, wishing we were connecting. And there was something going on for him in that. And my approach of fixing was not helpful. I was constantly attempting to reflect back to him what was wrong, what he wasn't doing, the help he needed to get. And one of the classics, right, of being the fixer is when I would get counseling or take a course or learn something, because I was in university, so I was studying all kinds of psychology and sociology and all these things. Then, of course, naturally, I would come home and tell him how I now understood him or that this is what was happening. And it's not to say that some of it wasn't true, but I tell you, by the end of those 5 years, right, his heels were so dug in, you know, and I was now alone so much more of the time because I was totally perceiving him from this negative lens of that there was something wrong with him, and had not at all oriented to what was actually happening for me beyond I'm not feeling good. I want something different and I'm anxious and I don't know what to do. And what I remember from that time, and I'm excited to hear your story from your past relationship, Mike, is inside there was this constant turmoil in a way, because if I could just figure out the right code, or if I could just figure out the right thing for him, or if I could just say it in the right way, or if I could just find the right coach or find the right whatever, it would unlock the code. That was the angsty feeling inside. I'm just not finding the right answer for him. I need to show him this. I need to teach him this. And not realizing the entire time I was completely chipping away at his self-confidence, his sense of capacity, his sense of my trust in him. I was seeing him as unable, and that I somehow was going to come in as the person on the horse to save him from his terrible doom, when in fact, what was really happening is I was in doom. I was in so much pain inside. I had so much anxiety and distress from my childhood, unprocessed trauma that was just living in my body. Anxious attachment, right? Classic anxious attachment. And it wasn't until I really started to deeply do the work on myself, get in my own seat, specifically somatic work, where I was really getting into my nervous system and really starting to land in myself, that my vista shifted from tracking hypervigilantly him to coming into my own seat. And that was the first step of coming out of the fixer, which now I'm getting to be in a relationship that has a whole different vista. But that was my first experience of going so deep into the fixer. And by the end of that time of the fixer, there was so much hurt between us. We'd gotten so far away, you know? And I remember the moment I realized that I had been doing this, I took so much responsibility of, I've actually been beating you up like I've been beating you up with that.
What inspired that moment?
Getting inside myself enough and getting to know that angsty fixer part inside and who that was and what she was needing, and realizing I had all these needs that I wasn't giving myself, you know? It was going on the journey of starting to live the life of I, regardless of what's happening for my partner, I am going to give myself what I need. I am going to go down the road of, I'm here for you, Courtney. I've got you. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to get to know your sensations, your feelings, what's actually happening inside. And then I'm going to move towards what we need. And for me, that looked like, oh, I don't want to sit on the couch in the evening by myself while he's on the computer. Great. Okay. I'm going to call a friend. And I ended up building some really beautiful, deep female friendships during that time that were really intimate and were meeting that need, And there were so many different ways I started to live a life that made my heart happy. I started, instead of waiting for him to meet me, I was like, well, I want to go and deeply commune with the forest. I want to go to this shaman training. Whereas, in the past with the fixer, I wouldn't make those steps because I couldn't make those steps until somehow I got my partner on board with it, if that makes sense. Of course, he was super supportive of me doing all those things in my story, but I still wouldn't have made those moves because I was so focused on him. And it wasn't until I came into myself that then I could even receive that he was supportive of me going to that shaman training or going on into that forest experience or doing my master's and becoming a therapist and all these different experiences that I started to experience life from my own body, my own needs. And once my needs were being met sufficiently by me, suddenly now I could see how much of that I'd been projecting on him. And that entire time, for the most part, I wasn't really seeing him. And I remember it. I was at the ski hill with him. It was like this veil that had been there this whole time, this fixer veil just went whew, and I could see him. And then I remember my heart felt so sad and I actually started crying. Oh my gosh, I haven't been able to see you. I've so wanted to fix you that I wasn't actually seeing you. And then the like deep remorse for the pain. Of course, I wasn't doing it intentionally, but I'd actually been beating him up energetically, right? And emotionally with this veil. And not just, oh, and once I could see him, then I understood I could actually start to learn about him and what is our relationship actually. And it wasn't until I got out of the fixer that I could even actually do that. I couldn't actually get to know what is here. But really, I wasn't emotionally ready to do that. What is actually here? Who is he actually? Because part of what the struggle was is I was having trouble actually holding myself in being with what was real, which was both the beauty of our relationship and who he was and how we met each other, and then also maybe where we weren't a good fit, or where, oh, maybe things weren't, what we were both needing. And it was so hard to look at that, but I was ready. I was ready to look at it. And then there was such a freedom that came.
Beautiful. It makes me think of the sticky note theory that we teach our couples at our retreats. And it applies here where, and this theory for everyone listening is this theory that we unconsciously write down these statements and these beliefs, these judgments of our partner, and we put these sticky notes of those judgments and these ideas and these stories we tell about our partner all over them. And over the years, or over however how much time you're together, the sticky notes take up so much space that there isn't actually a person to even look at. It's just all these ideas about them.
Yeah, and I remember that shift, right? From I'm going to tell you what's happening versus then I started to come into, what do you think is happening? What are you noticing? Help me understand you, which is a very different energy.
Completely different. That's when all the sticky notes start to fall down, just like you described with that veil lifting. Actually see the person that is there, and the uniqueness. Makes me think of my first marriage.
Tell us.
And I wish I had known this. This is an episode I wish I stumbled on to understand that I was in fixer. I had no idea. Because fixing for me, when I look back at that marriage, felt good. It was a self-soothing coping strategy to not deal with my own anxiety and lack of relational skill. I remember when I first met my previous partner, before we got together, it started so soon. It's like this dynamic of fixing started right away. We met, the whole dynamic played out, and she ended up texting me one night and said, "Hey, what's your address? I've been kicked out of my house. I've got my 2 dogs and a bottle of wine. Can I come over?" And the fixer in me said, "Great, sure." At first, my gut said, "No, Mike." But the fixer in me, the part that wanted connection, said, "Yeah, here it is." And you know what's so interesting is I was in an apartment. I had a buddy that was my roommate, best buddy at the time. And my partner, her name was Lauren. She came in and she came in with the two dogs, and it was a day, I think, before I got my first complaint, because she had two little dogs and they were stressed out. They left their home. They're now in an apartment. You know me, I was particular about not getting the carpets peed on, and so we have to lock them up. Now they're pissed about that in the bathroom and yelling, barking. And the fixer in me said, "Oh, I now need to find a house to buy because we can't live here. This isn't working." And when I think back to that, it's so painful to see how many decisions I made to try to do whatever I thought needed to happen to maintain some sort of connection, overtaking responsibility, that the difficulty of us coming together and our two lives coming together from an adult place. When I look back, the solution isn't go buy a house to deal with these dogs. It's let's both live on our own for a while and get curious of what do we want to do? What is this relationship? And so this dynamic started at the very beginning, and it just played out over years. I was with this person for 7 years. And when I look back, I can reflect on all these moments where I had choices. And instead of advocating for myself, and instead of feeling where I was in my own seat, I would lean over into her seat and get curious of what to do for her, or where she needs guidance, or what I now get paid a lot of money to do. People pay me tens of thousands of dollars to solve their problems. And it's not me solving, but together we look at the thing. Like, I'm really good at coaching, but in relationship, it's a killer, because that's not what the dynamic is. That's not what it's for. And so I would try to fix everything. She would come home and just be the feminine,
I can
sharing.
see you coaching.
Oh yeah, every
coming up
time.
with all kinds of like food, shift your food, do this. You'd be so good at that.
Yeah.
You'd be a good fixer.
If this episode ever stumbles in her lap, she'll be like, "Yep." She will vouch for yes. She changed the diet, her workout regime, how she created content, and it was relentless. It was relentless, this pattern of coming home with something and me leading with logic. And this is so common in seeing with the men that I support. And we see this in our, living the sacred we offer with our couples, where there's this place of the masculine leading with logic and then wanting to solve it. And I would try to solve everything. And then what it led to, 7 years of that pattern of me trying to fix what was happening for her instead of getting curious and watching her journey unfold and me focusing on my own lane, it led to me being really depressed and totally checked out, numbing out. At that point, by the end of the relationship, I was smoking pot daily.
Because what was happening underneath, just if you can go into that a little bit more, with the fixing. So when she came home, and you know that it was from the fixing, because what was the what would have the actual feeling have been inside that was motivating you?
For me, there was an angst inside, because when I feel inside of me, there was a part of my soul wanting me to become the man that I was meant to be. And that is world-class coach. And I believe I am that. I know I'm that in today's standards. But when I look back into my relationship, I was outsourcing that role in the relationship. So I was feeling angst of not offering over these God-given gifts to people outside of the relationship. I was feeling anxious that of the feeling inside of feeling weak, not enough. So that feeling started to feel like enough when I would go and fix something for her, and her reflections would be, "You're a genius. Oh my God, this is so helpful. Wow, yes," and lots of validation. And so the validation was the dopamine button, just similar to doom scrolling. Daily with the fixing dynamic, I would get the dopamine button of validation for my experience, not have to feel the part of me that felt insecure, weak, alone. And so the thing that I was avoiding, because I'd say when it comes to fixing, there's always something that's being avoided that is personal evolution, my own awakening, me in my lane, taking my seat. What's the work I'm being invited to do here? What am I being invited to look at, take responsibility for? That's what's actually happening. Life's inviting and the relationship is inviting, but I didn't know that. So I went into the fixing, the easy hit. And then it led to me being in a situation where I had to cope with the pain and the turmoil of me fixing. I'm doing air quotes for anyone not watching the video, led to empowering her in such a way to not live her own life, but to live the life that I saw for her and get lots of success, but then end in a situation where she had evolved so much farther than I had because I had outsourced my power to fixing her instead of finding the people I meant to serve and expand into the discomfort of all of that. So it led me feeling like the action is enabling. There's a place where enabling was in our dynamic, and I got weaker, she got stronger.
But then it's so interesting hearing both of you weren't really being yourselves.
No, we were both being inauthentic.
Yeah.
Because inside of her, and this is where it ended, is I felt really depressed and alone and confused. I didn't know what was happening. Why am I not feeling more empowered? Because I'd say, and I'm projecting all over her, based off of some of the things that she said, she was starting to realize she was losing herself and started to take space and feed outside relationships and these kinds of things and not want the fixing and start to say no to it. And then that created the part in me where now I had to face, oh no, I have no value, because it was so codependent. It was so being outsourced to that I was left with the feelings I couldn't avoid anymore. And I started to numb out because I didn't.
This is so powerful for any of you listening out there where where that's your role. That's the power role you've taken in relationship.
Which propped me up for so many years because it felt so good. But when she stopped the part of receiving it and started to say no to it, what I was running from started to take up space. And like most men that I see, it's too painful to look at and feel. So don't even know that it's feel to heal and to get help and support to go through those vulnerable layers. So I chose pot. I chose watching Netflix video series, and in my theater room, I looked miserable as the king that I was, top of the American dream of making, tons of money in the job that I had, only working 4 days a week, had a theater room, a beautiful wife, jet boat in the driveway, brand new truck. Like I had it all, but this fixer dynamic killed me. My soul was depleted, and she left. And then I had the ahas and the realizations. That's what lifted the veil for me, because then I could see myself. Then I could actually see her too. And my heart broke. It was so sad to see all the places I didn't give her the space to be who she was. I wanted to make her the person I think she should be. And that killed both of us.
Oh, when you say that, that's such a big one. Can you just say those words again? You weren't loving the person that she was.
I wasn't making the space
Yeah.
to get to know who she was. I was making choices and looking to fix the things that I think she should be.
Yeah. Oh. And then we missed the love.
And that's the grief.
That's the grief. That was what I felt, because there were even places where my partner did end up getting on board, and I did help him in ways. We both helped each other, but I did help him in ways, But at the end of the day, it wasn't from an attuned place, right? There were layers I was attuning to, like, yeah, well, he was needing to look at this, or that was happening, but I wasn't deeply seeing who his soul was meant to be.
Yes.
I was trying to get him into the box of what I was needing. Yeah.
And it's so humbling and grateful, painful, raw. But then what's interesting is being brought down to my knees in that experience where our relationship did die, because a relationship can't flourish when there is this codependent dynamic of fixer, fixee. It's not mature relationship. There's an enabling in it which disempowers both in a
Mm-hmm.
way. And it leads to more separation and disconnection. It's inevitable. When we look at the ingredients, the relational ingredients that were offered in that marriage for me, it's inevitable that that was going to happen. Or just higher and higher levels of numbing and coping and coexisting, which is so depressing to think of that. But what was really awakening for me was then actually feeling my experience when the person I was trying to fix was gone. Then it was so evident, this is about me. This is about what I haven't been looking at, where I haven't learned how to say no, where I haven't been stretching my edges and discomfort and going into being the person that I molded her to be. So when I looked at her success and the life that she had created, published author and public speaker and thriving, I looked at it, and she even said it. She said, Mike, I think you outsourced all your power on me to feel your greatness through what I was living. And it was a gut punch because it was true. But at least then I was liberated into the mature personal responsibility of, I'm here to express this greatness that's trying to mobilize through my actions and behaviors. That's my work. It isn't about anyone else. And from that day forward, I made a stance inside. I'm not here to fix anyone in my life, no friends, no partner, but I'm going to bring this part that wants to be great, not for validation, but that's what my soul is here to do, is inspire people to overcome these dynamics and places. Once I got a hold of that, game changer. Oh, my lane. And then I understood the big thing that we share in our work is this is the essence of sacred relationship, that it's my job to use the medium of the relationship for my own awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah. To use the medium of the relationship for my own awakening, not to try to expedite the awakening over there so I feel better,
Mm-hmm.
not to change you, but to get to know you by getting to know myself so that I can see you without all the stickies.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I have a little funny voice that's saying to me, Mike was a better fixer than me. But actually, I've also had a joke that I was really good until I met Mike, at attracting partners who were so avoidant that my fixing wouldn't work. So then inevitably I would end up sitting alone. But there was a brilliance to that. I've often thought, good work, Courtney, because I think my soul led me to that so that it wouldn't really work very well, because I would actually be very probably skilled at it. I inevitably would end up sitting alone and then have to be like, well, shit, I got to look at my shit. And so then for me, in my first relationship, the beauty was I got to go through the process of just discovering myself, and this partner, he was really supportive in that way. He was cheering me on from way over there, and what, but the medicine was, and this is how I've been able to help clients now who end up staying in those relationships, is I got to experience what happens when you start to actually embody yourself in relationship. And guess what? He started to move towards more. He started to be interested in what I was learning about. He started getting curious what his version of what would make him feel good. And guess what? It wasn't shamanism. But whoa, he discovered tantric practices. He started to go on his own journey, and it wasn't from me telling him, it was literally me just starting to do it. And then I got to start to watch him flourish and find himself and start to be curious, and us doing little fire ceremonies in the backyard together, things I had dreamed of. But none of that was happening when I was in the fixer. It all started to happen the more I sat in my own seat, the more I was in my own energy, and the more I was just curious about getting to know who he actually was. And, this is where I want to speak to is I have helped many women in particular move through this place where they come to me and they say, this is, that fixer is alive. I know they're in fixer. How do I know they're in fixer? Because when they sit on the couch, they talk about their partner. They talk about their partner, talk about their partner. This is what my partner's doing. This is what my partner needs. And they're not talking about themselves. I know now they're in their fixer. And you know what I tell them is, you go first. And they're, what? You go first. What? What you're wanting from your partner, you go first. Oh, you're wanting more connection? How can you bring in more connection? Oh, you're wanting to have more pleasure? How can you be more pleasurable? Like, and really encouraging them, you have to actually start to be the one that embodies what it is you're desiring. And when I'm orienting them to this, at first there's a lot of skepticism and I don't know. Well, whatever it is you're wanting, you have to learn to embody. You have to give it to yourself. You have to recognize, I have needs inside myself that I need to meet, that I'm desiring. And my favorite part of doing this work, and it's why, we have these high investment containers, is because someone comes back and they're in awe of, I've been trying to fix this in my partner for 7 years. And then I just went home and I started to embody healthier boundaries. I started to say no to things. I started to apologize about what I contributed. And you know what? Then they started apologizing. Oh, and then they started telling me their boundaries. And this aha of, oh, the way through is whatever I'm desiring in the relationship, I have to go first. It's not the leaning forward and hypervigilantly doing it through other. It's coming back to ourselves.
Yeah, this is the very essence you're speaking to, in our high ticket offer, Living the Sacred We, what couples come to realize and feel at a cellular level. Oh, this is about the sacred we. This is about us. This is about allyship. This is about taking responsibility and owning what in me has had an experience that has led to this dynamic we're in. What part can I own, and how to deepen those relational practices so that there's a felt sense of intimacy where each person gets to get better at being in their own lane, so that when it is time to hop in the car together, it feels really good because the direction that those two are going is consented and clear on both sides. This is where we want to go.
And, a main principle that Mike and I use in our relationship, and that is the principle of sacred relationship, I'm going to say it in a different way than Mike did, just using some different words, is the relationship is a mirror of yourself. And that has to be the foundation of how we understand relationship. Whatever I'm seeing over there, whatever I'm being shown, some of it is I'm attuning to my partner and I'm seeing something, but what is it evoking in me? That's what the mirror is. What happens in me? And to everything I see, everything I perceive is a mirror. And we have to orient that way first. And we really will get lost in the fixer when we are convinced I'm seeing you and I know you and I know this is what's happening for you and this is what you need to do. And the second we're in anything like that, when Mike and I are working with couples, one of the number one corrections where we intervene, right, is we just even shift their language a little bit, right? When they say, well, you were doing this because of this. And we say, could you say what I perceived? Even just that, giving your partner a reflection and just saying what I perceived when you did that was.
Or my imagining.
Is, but what's wild is the fixer's so strong. People who have strong fixers will actually get frustrated about that. What do you mean? That is what's happening for him, right? And that's just kind of a signpost that we're in the fixer. And a signpost we're out of the fixer is when we can feel, oh, everything's a mirror of me. And I can offer a reflection back to my partner. I can say, hey, this is my curiosity of what might be happening for you. And this is what it feels like in me. Very different from fixing.
Yeah, and I want to add to the nuance of this. Some of you might be out there listening. Well, wait a minute, my partner, and this is total extreme case. I'm not. If this is happening, get out of there. But let's say the partner's abusing you. There can be this loosely held place of what? So you're saying it's my fault that this is happening? No, there are situations in relationship where ingredients are happening that aren't okay. Doesn't mean it's it's just okay for whatever's happening there. What we're inviting with it's a mirror is it's a mirror to understand, why am I even here? Why is this happening? One of our mentors, Gay and Katie Hendricks, beautiful couple, we had them on one of our earlier episodes where they described this really anchoring question is that touches the essence of this mirror work is, how is this inevitable that this is happening between us right now? Like, based off of the life that I've lived and the themes that play out in my life and all my relationships, how is this inevitable that my partner is saying the thing, doing the thing right now in front of me? Because then what it does is it pulls on that radical self-responsibility of, this is a mirror. This is a mirror for me to get to know the patterns I end up attracting, the places I'm not having boundaries, where I go into fixing, where I'm not saying the thing I know I need to say because I'm conflict avoidant. It's the relationship is the mirror itself. And that's the important essence to understand, because there is always something we can take responsibility for.
Even if the responsibility, I'll give an example, right? In a relationship I was in, the other person, part of what I would try to fix in this person was they would really go in their mind and they would get really lost in their mind and weren't able to feel what they were feeling. Well, that was actually true. That was actually happening, right? The fixer in me would try to fix that, try to get him to see it, try to fix it. When I came out of the fixer, then I learned to notice and be, wow, yeah, this is real. This is happening. And just take that in. Taking it in. That is okay. That is happening. What's that like for me? Am I okay with that? And then after a few years of being in that, deciding this isn't a good fit for me. And I'm not, it doesn't feel good for me to be with someone who is more in the mental planes. That's not a good fit for me. Whereas the fixer would have tried to convince him what was wrong with him and how he needed to be different. This was me taking in, oh, and then choosing to leave. And that was a good decision for me. So, even if you're in an abusive relationship or we're not saying, so you need to figure out how to be there. We're saying maybe the mirror is, I need to leave. Maybe the fixer is, I'll get him out of this addiction. And it's actually the part that's making you think that you have to keep seeing your own mirror, right? And maybe the actual mirror is, get out of there.
You're playing out the enabling role that you maybe watched growing up, where you're now becoming your mother, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the mirror ends up being, what's the story that's replaying from the lineage that isn't so helpful, that isn't leading to actual deeper connection, that's not leading to intimacy.
Yeah.
Like, if you're here listening and you're still listening, or you tune into a lot of our episodes, we know that you want a relationship where the love gets to be something more. It gets to be juicy and enjoyable and in service to your own awakening and evolution, but also for others, that it gets to inspire other people, that it can leave a legacy. And so much of that is learning how to really get to know, whoa, what is this teaching me? What have I not noticed before? Because maybe, I'll speak for myself, anywhere that fixer's been alive, I'm so hyper focusing on what's happening over there because of the discomfort that's actually in here. The work becomes, what is the discomfort? What about this is triggering me? Because if I can follow that golden thread down the trigger and get into the essence of what it's invoking in me, I can take responsibility for that.
And I would say, I'd love to hear, Mike, what you're at the root of what's underneath the fixer. Is there something we're having trouble being present with and really accepting? There's something here we're having trouble being with. Now that could be from our trauma, and it could be what's actually really here. To really take in, oh, this is actually really here. This person is actually disrespecting me. Oh, this person actually does have an addiction. Oh, this person is actually lying. And we're having trouble being with that. And so we have to really, the way out of the fixer, we have to build the tone of being with what's here without trying to fix it. That's the first step to any healing. We have to be with what's here. And we can't actually choose what the next steps are for ourselves or for our partnership if we can't be with what's here. That's the first step.
And then the next step to that is saying the uncomfortable thing, because so often the fixer's afraid for difference, for conflict, and doesn't say the hard truth, doesn't point out the thing from personal experience. Like when I say point out the thing, I'm describing leading with vulnerability. That's the essence of what we teach in our work with our couples, with our people, with our individual clients. Is the way through, the way to liberation is lead with your own personal vulnerability. What is your experience, and offer that to the connection so that we can see what's true from there. And what's so liberating about going in this direction, and this is the very way that we live, we do not fix each other. And if it conditionally sneaks in certain moments, we invite, hey, I'd love to hear what's happening for you. Or what are you needing here? Oh, we're able to come in and say the uncomfortable thing of, sometimes it's just playfully like, hey, I think you need to stay in your own lane. And we can say that because there's enough safety, but it's.
And what a relief it is to be in partnership and not have bandwidth going towards fixing the other. Because for me, in past relationships, that fixer energy took so much life energy. It was exhausting. And now that there's no bandwidth, suddenly that's not a bandwidth that's being used. It opens up so much more energy and spaciousness. I can just enjoy. I can just enjoy. And I have this deep trust in your process. I have a deep trust in you. And I have a toolkit of, if I need to reflect something to you, or I need to share something that's happening or make a request, a way to move towards you and talk about that's not fixing, that instead is being vulnerable, making a request, saying, hey, I'm noticing something's happening. This is the story I'm telling myself, and we can engage about it. So then the fixer doesn't have to come in. One of the things we wanted to share with you all too, because, the fixer, if any of you out there are healers, coaches, therapists, facilitators of any kind, we are the most notorious for fixing. We are the best fixers. Usually that's why we became this a helper. And, for Mike and I, we actually have a rule, and this has been in our relationship, I think, from maybe year 2 or something. The rule is, we don't coach or therapize each other at all unless one of us explicitly asks. So when I'm around Mike, my therapist self, my counselor self, my coach self, they are on a shelf. I'm not relating from that part of me. I'm relating as partner, wife, curious, comrade on the path. Unless he comes to me and he asks for something in particular. He says, can you help me with this? I'm really needing your insight on that. And vice versa, I'll tell Mike, I'll go to him and I'll say, can you coach me on this thing? And that's it. Otherwise, not bringing his coach to me. And that's been so important because it can be very sneaky, the way that those parts of us want to fix, and also how we want, when we're struggling, right? We want someone to fix us. Not really. But a part of us can want someone to fix us
Subconsciously, like, take my pain
subconsciously.
away. I don't want to feel the pain, but that enables, which feels good in the moment, but overarching, it's soul crushing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is a rule we have. One of the things that we see in couples is when they can really get the hang of boundarying that in themselves. And that even looks like when you go to a ceremony, when you go to a therapy session, when you go, to talk to friends, it should be that 90% of what you're talking about is your own process, your own insights, your own. And then maybe you bring in a little bit about, I want to kind of understand what's happening for Mike right now and how I could support him. Maybe bring in a little bit of, oh yeah, when that's happening with Mike, it makes me feel this. But it should be 10% or less. And most of it should be on what's actually happening for you. And if we're sliding past that, you're out of your lane.
Yeah, one of the key sentences or phrases that we use in our day to day when there is a moment or a season of something that either of us is going through, it's just presence, love, warmth, and I so trust your process. I'm right here. I'm going to keep being here. And I love you. And it's just the reassurance of I'm here while I'm looking at you, watching you in your process. And then also trusting that sovereign inner orientation of if you want something, you ask for it. I'm just going to say, God, I love when you ask me to put on my coach hat. But what I love about it is it's consented and it's contained to that one moment. It's not our day to day living of life. It's when my experience of you is when you're inspired by something and you want to know about that thing because you're watching whatever's happening because of how I'm living my life. Or
Or when I think, ooh, Mike's got a lot of skill in this area
right.
and I'm struggling with this thing, he would be the perfect person to ask for help here.
Yeah. But it's you guiding it, not me initiating or telling you. And the same for me, a skill that I'll often ask, not that often, but sometimes ask of you is, hey, can I just put my head on your lap? Can you hold me? I'm working with this little part in me, and it would really love to feel just comfort and softness. And can you look? I'll guide it. Can you look into my eyes? Can you rub my head and say this sentence? And then I'll ask her to offer over, not to mother me, but to offer over the gift of her graciousness, which God gave you. You have graciousness. Can you just lend me the mothering quality so I can let that into my lived experience and reparent that little dude in me? And then it's just contained. It's contained to that one little experience. And then I get to enjoy the deliciousness of your therapist hat, but just for that moment.
Yeah. And really, most of your inner world too should be not what's going on for Mike and why is he doing that, but oh, I'm noticing when I'm relating with Mike, I'm getting tight and feeling uncomfortable. I wonder what's going on for me.
And if there's a certain season, just for you listening, if that happens for more than a few days, a week, a few weeks, a month, that's the sign you need to get outside support somewhere to lean in, to start to get curious about what that is.
If they're noticing
If you're noticing other and there's a hyper focus and you're so fixated on what's going on over there or what they're doing or not doing, that's my barometer always. Whoa, there's a lot of inner narrative of what Courtney's doing or not doing. That's a sign I'm out of my seat and something's happening for me and I need help to make sense of it. I'll take it to men's circle. I'll take it to my coach. I'll take it to my therapist, my brother, someone in my inner circle so that I can lean into that resource that's not the primary connection because we don't want our partner to be the fixer. We want to adult parent ourselves and take it outside of the intimate partnership. Get that need met, get the clarity, get the insight, move the emotion so we can bring more of that mature quality to the relationship.
yeah, it feels so juicy and good to be in a relationship where whenever I hear people in that fixer processy place about their partners, I feel this deep relief in my heart and my chest that I'm not living that anymore. Thank God.
It's liberating.
Phew. And you're not trying to fix me. And I'm not trying to fix you. Oh, that gives a lot more energy for the other parts of life.
So much more polarity and charge and
Creativity.
Like what we've been able to create in our relationship is immense. And it's because we're not trying to fix each other. And we've found the resonance of shared vision, and it's so enjoyable. It's liberating.
If anything, a lot of what we process is, oh, you're a lot different than me. And we say things like that. Oh, help me understand you. That's not at all how I would have seen it.
Yeah. And we get to bring that yan and teen, which is complementary opposites, together into this and serve you. We appreciate you all so much for tuning in. We'd love to hear what this invokes in you. Share in the comments, whatever platform you're listening to. We love reading all of them. Sometimes maybe not right away, but we always read them. We'll always comment, and we'd love to hear. And if you got value from this, do us a favor to help spread this to more people so that we are in this process together. Give it a like, give it a 5-star rating, hit subscribe. That would be so deeply appreciated.